Buddhāvataṃsaka Sutra. Book 21. 10 Practices. Video 2. What is the Great Enlightening Being's practice of non-attachment? These great enlightening beings, with minds free from attachment, can in every successive instant enter into countless worlds and adorn and purify these countless worlds, their minds free from attachment to anything in these worlds. They visit countless Buddhas, pay their respects, wait on them, and present them with offerings of countless flowers, perfumes, garlands, fragrant ointments, powdered incenses, clothes, jewels, banners, parasols, and various other adornments, all without number. These offerings are for the sake of the ultimate uncreated truth, for the sake of abiding in the inconceivable truth. In every instant they see countless Buddhas. Their minds are free from attachment to the Buddha's places, and they have no attachment to the Buddha lands either. They also have no attachment to the distinguishing marks of the Buddhas, and while they see the Buddha's auras of light and hear the Buddha's sermons, yet they have no attachment. They also have no attachment to the congregations of the Buddhas and enlightening beings of the worlds of the 10 directions. Having heard Buddha's teachings, their minds are joyful, and the power of their will is greatly increased, so that they are able to encompass and carry out the practices of enlightening beings. Yet they have no attachments. These enlightening beings, through unspeakably many eons, see untold Buddhas appear in the world. They attend and supply the Buddha for untold eons, never wearying of this. Seeing the Buddhas, hearing their teachings, and seeing the magnificent arrays of the assemblies of enlightening beings, they are unattached to any of them. And when they see impure worlds, they have no aversion. Why? Because these enlightening beings observe according to the Buddha teachings. In the teaching of the Buddhas, there is neither defilement nor purity, neither darkness nor light, neither difference nor unity, neither truth nor falsehood, neither security nor danger, no right path and no wrong path. Thus do enlightening beings enter deeply into the realm of reality, teaching and transforming sentient beings without forming attachments to sentient beings. They accept and hold the teaching, yet they do not form attachments to the teaching. They arouse the will for enlightenment and abide in the abode of the Buddhas, yet they do not form attachments to the abode of Buddhas. Though they speak, their minds have no attachment to speech. They enter the various realms of life with minds unattached to those realms. They comprehend concentration, can enter and can dwell in concentration, but they have no attachment to concentration. Going to visit countless Buddha lands, they may enter, see, or sojourn therein, but their minds have no attachment to Buddha lands, and when they leave they do not miss them. Because great enlightening beings are able to be without attachment in this way, their minds have no barriers to the Buddha teaching. They comprehend the enlightenment of Buddhas, they realize the discipline of the teaching, they abide by the right teaching of the Buddhas and cultivate the practices of enlightening beings, they contemplate the enlightening beings' methods of liberation. Their minds are free from attachment to the dwelling places of enlightening beings, and they also have no attachments to the practices of enlightening beings. They clear the way of enlightening beings and receive the prediction of enlightenment which is given to enlightening beings. Having received the prediction, they reflect, sentient beings are foolish and ignorant, without knowledge or vision, without faith or understanding, lacking in intelligent action, greedy and dishonest, covetous and grasping, revolving in the flow of birth and death. They do not seek to see the Buddha, they do not follow enlightened guides, they do not trust the Buddha. They are lost in error, mistakenly entering dangerous paths. They do not respect the sovereign of the 10 powers, they do not realize the benevolence of the enlightening beings. They are attached to their dwelling places, and when they hear that all things are empty, their minds are startled and frightened, and they shy away from the true teaching and abide in false teachings. They abandon the level, even path and enter perilous, difficult paths. They reject the ideas of the Buddha and pursue the ideas of demons. They are firmly and relentlessly attached to existence. Thus observing sentient beings, enlightening beings increasing great compassion and develop roots of goodness, and yet they are unattached. At this point enlightening beings also think, I should, for the sake of a single sentient being, in each land in the worlds in the 10 directions, spend countless eons teaching and developing, and should do the same for all sentient beings, without on this account wearying or giving up. Furthermore, measuring the entire universe with a hair tip, at a single point they pass unspeakably many unspeakable numbers of eons teaching, edifying, and civilizing all beings, and also do likewise at each and every point in the universe. Never for a moment do they cling to self or entertain any conception of self or possession. At each point they cultivate enlightening practice throughout the eons of the future, not attached to the body, not attached to phenomena, not attached to recollection, not attached to vows, not attached to concentration, not attached to contemplation, not attached to tranquil stabilization, not attached to spheres or objects, not attached to teaching and training sentient beings, and not attached to entering the realm of reality. Why? The enlightening beings form this thought, I should look upon all objective realms as like phantoms, all Buddhas as like reflections, enlightening practices as like dreams, Buddha sermons as like echoes. All worlds are like illusions, because they are upheld by the consequences of actions. Differentiated bodies are like apparitions, because they are produced by the power of deeds. All sentient beings are like mind, because they are defiled by various influences. All things are like the limit of reality, because they cannot change. They also form this thought, I should carry on enlightening practices in all lands, in all worlds throughout space, moment after moment clearly realizing all truths taught by the Buddha, with precise presence of mind, free from attachments. Thus do enlightening beings observe that the body has no self, and they see the Buddha without hindrance. In order to transform sentient beings, they expound various teachings, to cause them to have unlimited joy and pure faith in the Buddha's teaching. They rescue all without weariness of mind. Because they are unwearied, if there are any sentient beings in any world who are not mature or unruly in any way, they go there and employ expedient methods to transform and liberate them. By virtue of great commitment, and will they remain secure among those beings various kinds of speech, deeds, attachments, devices, associations, routines, activities, perspectives, births, and deaths, and teach them, not letting their minds be disturbed or discouraged, and never for a moment forming any thought of attachment. Why? Because they have attained non-attachment and independence. Their own benefit and the benefit of others is fulfilled with purity. This is called the Great Enlightening Being's seventh practice of non-attachment. What is the Great Enlightening Being's practice of that which is difficult to attain? Here the enlightening beings perfect roots of goodness which are difficult to attain, invincible roots of goodness, supreme roots of goodness, indestructible roots of goodness, unsurpassable roots of goodness, inconceivable roots of goodness, inexhaustible roots of goodness, independently powered roots of goodness, greatly influential roots of goodness which are of the same essence as all Buddhas. When these enlightening beings carry out their practice, they attain supreme understanding of the Buddha teaching, they attain broad understanding of the Buddha's enlightenment. They never give up the vows of enlightening beings, and for all ages their minds never weary. They do not shrink from suffering, and they cannot be moved by any demons. Under the care of all Buddhas, they fully carry out all the difficult undertakings of enlightening beings. In cultivating enlightening practices, they are diligent and energetic, never lazy. They never retreat from the vow of universal salvation. Once the enlightening beings abide in these difficult-to-accomplish practices, they are able to transmute immeasurable ages of birth and death in every instant, without giving up the great vow of enlightening beings. If any sentient beings serve and support them, or even see or hear of them, they all will attain non-regression on the way to unexcelled complete perfect enlightenment. Though the enlightening beings understand that sentient beings are not existent, yet they do not abandon the realms of sentient beings. They are like ship captains, not staying on this shore, not staying on the other shore, not staying midway, yet able to ferry sentient beings from this shore over to the other shore, because they are always traveling back and forth. In the same way, enlightening beings do not stay in birth and death, do not stay in nirvana, and also do not stay in midstream of birth and death, while they are able to deliver sentient beings from this shore to the other shore, where it is safe and secure, without sorrow or trouble. And they have no attachment to the numbers of sentient beings. They do not abandon one being for attachment to many beings, and do not abandon many beings for attachment to one being. They neither increase nor decrease the realms of sentient beings. They neither exhaust nor perpetuate the realms of sentient beings. They neither discriminate nor bifurcate the realms of sentient beings. Why? Enlightening beings enter deeply into the realms of sentient beings as the realm of truth. The realms of sentient beings and the realm of truth are non-dual. In the non-dual there is no increase or decrease, no origination or destruction, no existence or non-existence, no grasping and no reliance, no attachment and no duality. Why? Because enlightening beings realize that all things and the realm of truth are non-dual. Thus do enlightening beings, by means of appropriate techniques, enter into the profound realm of truth and abide in formlessness, while adorning their bodies with pure forms. They understand that things have no intrinsic nature, yet they are able to distinguish the characteristics of all things. They do not grasp sentient beings, yet they are able to know the numbers of sentient beings. They are not attached to worlds, yet they appear physically in Buddha lands. They do not discriminate principles, yet they enter skillfully into the Buddha teachings. They profoundly understand their meanings and principles and extensively expound the verbal teachings. They comprehend the dispassionate reality of all things, yet do not cease the path of enlightening. They do not withdraw from enlightening, they always diligently cultivate inexhaustible practice. They freely enter the pure realm of reality. It may be likened to drilling wood to produce fire. Fires may be unlimited, but the fire doesn't go out. In the same way do enlightening beings liberate people without end, yet they remain in the world forever without becoming extinct. They neither do nor do not reach an ultimate end. Neither do nor do not grasp, neither do nor do not rely, are neither worldlings or Buddhists, neither ordinary people nor realized people. When enlightening beings accomplish this difficult-to-attain state of mind, and cultivate enlightening practice, they do not preach the doctrines of the two vehicles, they do not preach Buddhism, they do not talk about the world, they do not expound worldly doctrines, they don't explain sentient beings, they don't say there are no sentient beings, they don't talk about purity or defilement. Why? Because enlightening beings know all things have no defilement and no grasping, do not proceed and do not recede. When enlightening beings practice this dispassionate, subtle, extremely deep and all-surpassing teaching, they do not think I am cultivating this practice, have cultivated this practice, will cultivate this practice. They are not attached to physical or mental elements, or to sense faculties, sense consciousness, or sense data, or to inner or outer worlds. The great vows they undertake, their transcendent ways, and all their methods are without attachments. Why? Because in the realm of truth there are no names corresponding to reality. In the vehicle of listeners and the vehicle of the self-awakened there are no real names. In the vehicle of enlightening beings there are no real names. In perfect enlightenment there are no real names. In the world of ordinary people there are no real names, nor in purity or impurity, in birth and death or nirvana. Why? Because all things are non-dual, yet none are non-dual. They are like space, which anywhere in the universe, whether past, present, or future, cannot be apprehended, yet it is not that there is no space. Thus do enlightening beings observe all things to be ungraspable, yet not non-existent. They see things as they are, without neglecting their tasks, everywhere demonstrating the practices of enlightening activities. They do not give up their great vows, civilizing sentient beings, turning the wheel of true teaching. They do not violate cause and effect and do not deny it, and do not deviate from the impartial truth. Equal to the Buddhas of all times, they do not cut off the lineage of Buddhahood, they do not violate the character of reality. Entering deeply into the reaching, their expository ability is endless. They hear the teaching without attachment. Reaching the profound depths of the teaching, they are able to expound it skillfully, hearts without fear. They do not give up their abode of Buddhas, but they do not violate natural laws. They appear throughout the world, yet are not attached to the world. Thus do enlightening beings achieve the mind of wisdom which is difficult to attain. Cultivating various practices, they free sentient beings from the three woeful states of hell, ghosthood, and animality, teaching and enlightening, taming and civilizing, placing them on the way of the Buddhas of all times, making them unshakable. Furthermore, they form this thought: beings in the world are ungrateful and even hostile to one another. With false views and clinging attachments, illusions and delusions, they are ignorant and unwise. Having no faith, they follow bad associates, and develop various kinds of perverse cleverness. they are full of various afflictions, like craving and ignorance. This is where I am to cultivate the practice of enlightening beings. If people who are grateful, intelligent, wise and knowing filled the world, I would not cultivate the practices of enlightening beings therein. Why? I have no attraction or opposition to sentient beings. I seek nothing from them. I do not seek even so much as a single word of praise. Cultivating enlightening practices forever and ever, they never have a single thought of doing it for themselves. They only want to liberate all sentient beings, to purify them so that they attain eternal emancipation. Why? Because those who would be enlightened guides must be thus, not grasping, not seeking, just practicing the enlightening way for the sake of beings, to enable them to reach the peaceful, secure other shore and attain complete perfect enlightenment. This is called the great enlightening being's eighth practice, that which is difficult to attain. What is the great enlightening being's practice of good teachings? Here the enlightening beings act as pure, cool reservoirs of truth for the sake of beings of all worlds, celestial and human beings, devils and gods, ascetics and priests, etc. Maintaining true teaching, they do not let the seed of Buddhahood be cut off. Because they attain the spell of pure light, in teaching and predicting enlightenment their intellectual powers are inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of complete meaning their comprehension of meanings is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of realization of true principles, their comprehension of principles is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of explanatory expression, their comprehension of words is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of non-obstruction of inexhaustible meanings of boundless words and phrases, their unimpeded comprehension is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of non-obstruction of inexhaustible meanings of boundless words and phrases, their unimpeded comprehension is inexhaustible. Because they are anointed by the spell of the Buddha's coronation, their delightful eloquence is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of enlightenment without relying on another, their illuminating discourse is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of adaptive explanation, their adaptive discourse is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of elucidation and analysis of all kinds of bodies of words, phrases, and sentences, their explanatory eloquence is inexhaustible. Because they attain the spell of boundless versatility, their boundless elucidation is inexhaustible. The great compassion of these enlightening beings is strong and steadfast, extending to all creatures. Throughout the universe they change their bodies to a golden color and carry out the deeds of Buddhas time and time again, adapting to the faculties, natures, and inclinations of sentient beings. With a universal tongue within one voice they manifest unlimited sounds, teaching as appropriate to the occasion, bringing joy to all. Even if there were countless beings in innumerable conditions, all in the same assembly, that assembly so vast it fills untold worlds, and each had innumerable mouths each capable of producing billions of sounds, and each should ask the enlightening beings different questions all at once, the enlightening beings would be able to take on all the questions instantly and reply to them and cause their doubts to be removed. As this is true of one assembly, so it is also of countless assemblies. Furthermore, even if every single spot as big as a hair tip should in every successive moment produce unspeakably many unspeakable numbers of congregations, throughout the eons of the future, Those eons may be exhausted, but the congregations are infinite, and all of them should every moment ask different questions in different words. Enlightening beings could receive them all in a single instant, without fear or timidity, without doubt or error, thinking, even if all sentient beings come and question me, I will expound the truth to them ceaselessly, endlessly, causing them all to rejoice and dwell in the path of virtue, and also cause them to understand all words and expressions and be able to explain various principles to sentient beings, yet without discrimination in regard to language. Even if they come and ask difficult questions in countless various ways of speaking, I will receive them all at once and answer them all in one voice, causing them all to understand, without omitting anything. This is because they have been anointed with omniscience, because they have found the unobstructed treasury of the potential of enlightenment, because they have attained the sphere of light of all truths, and because they are replete with universal knowledge. Once the enlightening beings abide in the practice of good teachings, they can purify themselves, and also can benefit all sentient beings by appropriate means without attachments, not seeing that there are any sentient beings that attain emancipation. As they do in this universe, so in countless universes do they turn golden, and, fully equipped with the wondrous voice, with no barrier to any truth, perform Buddha work. These enlightening beings develop 10 kinds of body: the transcendent body which enters into boundless realms, due to annihilating all worldliness; the immanent body which enters into boundless realms, due to birth in all worlds; the unborn body, due to abiding in the impartiality of birthlessness; the undying body, due to all expression of extinction being ungraspable; the non-real body, due to attainment of accord with reality; the non-false body, due to adaptive appearance; the unchanging body, being removed from death in one place and rebirth in another; the non-disintegrating body, the nature of the realm of reality being indestructible; the uniform body, being beyond all manner of speaking, past, present, or future; the formless body, due to ability to observe the characteristics of things. Developing these 10 bodies, enlightening beings are a house for all sentient beings, because they raise all roots of goodness. They are saviors for all sentient beings, because they enable them to attain great peace. They are a refuge for all sentient beings, because they act as a great reliance for them. They are guides for all sentient beings, because they enable them to attain unsurpassed emancipation. They are teachers of all sentient beings, because they cause them to enter into the truth. They are lamps for all sentient beings, because they cause them to see clearly the consequences of actions. They are lights for all sentient beings, because they cause the extremely profound wondrous truth to be illuminated. They are a torch for all in all times, because they cause them to clearly understand the truth. They are illumination for all worlds, because they cause them to enter the state of radiant light. They are clarifiers for all realms of being, because they reveal the powers of the enlightened. This is called the Great Enlightening Being's 9th practice of good teachings. When enlightening beings abide in this practice, they are a pure cool reservoir of truth for all sentient beings, because they can plumb the source of all the Buddha teachings. What is the Great Enlightening Being's practice of truth? Here the enlightening beings perfect true speech. They can act in accord with what they say, and can speak according to what they do. These enlightening beings study the true words of the Buddhas of all times. They enter the nature of the lineage of the Buddhas of all times. They equal the roots of goodness of the Buddhas of all times. They apprehend the non-dual speech of the Buddhas of all times. learning from the enlightened ones, their knowledge and wisdom is consummate. These enlightening beings develop the knowledge of what is so and what is not so in regard to sentient beings, the knowledge of consequences of past, future, and present actions, the knowledge of sharpness and dullness of all faculties, the knowledge of various realms, the knowledge of various understandings, the knowledge of where all paths lead, the knowledge of defilement or purity and proper or improper timing of all meditations, liberations, and concentrations, the knowledge of past abodes in all worlds, the knowledge of clairvoyance, and the knowledge of the end of all taints, yet they don't give up carrying out all the practices of enlightening beings. Why? Because they want to teach and enlighten all living beings and purify them. The enlightening beings also conceive this overwhelming determination: if I attain complete perfect enlightenment first without having established all sentient beings on the path of unsurpassed liberation, I would be violating my original vow. That would never do. So I should first cause all sentient beings to attain unexcelled enlightenment and nirvana without remainder, and then after that fulfill Buddhahood. Why? Sentient beings have not asked me to set my mind on enlightenment. Of my own accord act as an unsolicited friend to sentient beings, wishing to first cause all beings to fully develop their good potential and attain omniscience. This is why I am supreme, because I am not attached to any world. I am highest, because I dwell in the state of unsurpassed self-control. I am free from all blindness, because I understand that sentient beings are boundless. I am done, because my original vow is accomplished. I am versatile, because of the adornment of virtues of enlightening beings. I am reliable, because of the acceptance of the Buddhas of all times. Because the enlightening beings do not give up their fundamental vow, they gain entry to the adornment of unexcelled knowledge and wisdom. They benefit living beings, causing them all to be fulfilled. They attain final consummation of their original vow. Their knowledge has free access to all truths. They cause all sentient beings to attain to purity. Instant to instant they travel throughout the worlds of the 10 directions, instant to instant visiting countless Buddha lands, instant to instant seeing countless Buddhas and the pure lands the Buddhas adorned. They show the independent spiritual power of the enlightened pervading the space of the cosmos. These enlightening beings manifest innumerable bodies, entering all worlds without relying on anything. In their bodies they manifest all lands, all beings, all phenomena, and all Buddhas. These enlightening beings know the various thoughts, desires, understandings, results of actions, and roots of goodness of all living beings, and appear to them in accordance with their needs, in order to civilize and tame them. They look upon the enlightening beings as like phantoms, all things as like magic tricks, the appearance of Buddhas in the world as like reflections, all worlds as like dreams. They attain the inexhaustible treasury of bodies of meanings and expressions. They are in command of right mindfulness, and they have certain knowledge of all truths. Their wisdom is supreme, and they enter into the true character of all concentrations, and abide in the state of non-duality of one essence. Because sentient beings all cling to duality, great enlightening beings abide in great compassion. Cultivating this teaching to annihilate afflictions, they attain the 10 powers of Buddhahood and enter the reality realm which is like the net of Indra. accomplishing the unhindered liberation of the enlightened. They are valiants among humans. Roaring the lion's roar, they attain fearlessness, and are able to turn the wheel of the unimpeded pure teaching. Attaining liberation of intellect, they know thoroughly all objects in the world. Stopping the whirlpool of birth and death, they enter the ocean of wisdom. Preserving the right teachings of the Buddhas of past, present, and future for the sake of all sentient beings, they reach the fountainhead of the real character of the ocean of all Buddha teachings. Once enlightening beings dwell in this practice of truth, any beings who associate with them are caused to open up in understanding, be full of joy and completely pure. This is called the Great Enlightening Beings' 10th practice of truth. Then, because of the spiritual power of the Buddha, in each of the 10 directions as many worlds as atoms in a Buddha land quaked in 6 ways, moving everywhere, moving equally everywhere, rising everywhere, rising equally everywhere, surging everywhere, surging equally everywhere, shaking everywhere, shaking equally everywhere, roaring everywhere, roaring equally everywhere, crashing everywhere, crashing equally everywhere. It rained beautiful celestial flowers, celestial perfumes and incense, celestial garlands and raiment, celestial jewels and ornaments. Heavenly music played and celestial lights shone, conveying the subtle voices of all celestial beings. The miracles that appeared when the 10 practices were expounded in the Suyama heaven of this world also appeared likewise in all the worlds of the 10 directions. Also, due to the spiritual power of the Buddha, from each of the 10 directions as many enlightening beings as atoms in 100,000 Buddha lands came to this world from beyond worlds as numerous as atoms in 100,000 Buddha lands. Filling the 10 directions, they said to the enlightening being Forest of Virtue, "Excellent, O child of Buddha! You can skillfully expound the practices of enlightening beings. We are all similarly named Forest of Virtues, and the worlds we live in are all called Banner of Virtue, and the Buddhas of those lands are all named Universal Virtue. At our Buddha's places this teaching is also expounded, the assembly, words, and principles are all the same, nothing more and nothing less. Child of Buddha, we have all come to this assembly through the power of the Buddhas to be witnesses for you. This is also true of all the worlds in the 10 directions. Continue to video 3.